what we are doing now is that we are trying to track what is happening in Norway concerning everything that's relating to reforming research assessments. So we have a 4-year project that is funded by the Research Council of Norway, in which we have the research team from NIFU, which I'm presenting here, and we also have the project partners in the universities in Norway and in the Norwegian Association of Researchers and 2 different and a research foundation, as well as the Young Academy of Norway. And we have a user panel in which are involving these user partners, and as well as the research partner of Norway and the Ministry of Education and Research. And in this way, we also, I would say, we involve the national CoARA chapter, because we are involving University of Norway is organizing it. So we are also interacting with the actors in the field here, which I think is important in the way that we really want to understand what is going on. So the aim of the project is to understand the drivers and barriers to research assessment reform. That's a quite wide aim. We have some specific research questions that are, what are the CoARA motivated changes implemented in Norway? And what are the objectives of these changes? And then we want to know how this affects the reviewers and the applicants. For the reviewers, we ask, what effects, if any, do reviewers experience from new CEVA requirements or new guidelines or whatever? And do these experiences change their assessments? And for the applicants, we ask to what extent different applicants groups anticipate that these changes will affect them, and to what extent they actually affects their activities. And then at the overall level, we want to sort of discuss to what extent we can see that this impact the Norwegian research system, and so how. I mean, if to what extent they actually affects the practices of the reviewers and the applicants. And then the sort of final over question are, what are the drivers and barriers for such changes, and how do drivers and barriers vary between research fields and between organizations or levels in organizations? To do this, we have some different kinds of entry points to understand how research quality notions develop and institutionalize. We look at the one side, we think there are field-type quality notions that are sort of the self-regulated research community develop their own notions of research quality for their own field. At the same time, there are sort of space-type quality notions in which priorities, which are used to compare between fields and set priorities and allocate resources. And what we see is that these 2 types of research quality notions are interlinked and they develop in tandem. So that means that we have to look both at what's going on in the research community, and we have to look at what's going on at the policy level to understand how policy notions develop. Another important entry point here is the reward and the incentive system in science. To build and maintain their research careers, there are very strong incentives to comply with assessment criteria. You need to accumulate academic capital to enjoy independent and privileged position. I mean, to do research, you need funding, you need a position at the university or whatever. And to do this, you need to comply with the criteria to get funding and to get a position. At the same time, and this is not think I looked at that much as the other entry points we are looking at, there are norms that affect how research, assessment should comply with. I mean, they should be thorough, they should be fair, they should be efficient, and it might be difficult to do all this at the same time. So there are some compromises between these different type of notions, and these different kinds of quality norms of the assessment procedure, which means that there are different stakes in a reform process. And different actors may have different opinions about what are the most important thing to put forward here. Is it thorough assessment? Is it fair assessment? Is it impartiality? What's the problem in our field, in our organization, in our country? So people might have different opinions about what is at stake and what should be done. And that's bringing us to the last entry point here, which is one of these compromises, which might be to what extent do we rely on quantitative indicators? Because here you have the efficient side, but you do not have the thorough side. And if you, even while the limitation of metrics are generally acknowledged, they are still widely used because they're easy to access, demand little time, they are perceived to help get good overview, and in some fields it's quite normal and legitimate to use them. So to moderate the use might be hard, but it maybe harder in some fields than in others. Now I'm going to say something about the empirical approaches we are using in this study. First, we have two work packages. One is about employment and promotion of academic staff, and the other is about research grant proposal assessments. So here's work package 1. So we are doing document analysis, both of action plans, local versions of the NORCAM, which is the main tool, matrix in Norway. And we study organization level changes and the motivation for these changes. We are studying hiring and promotion guidelines, the job posting templates of the universities. And we try then to identify any changes between 2016 and 2027. And we are sending out a survey this year and in 2 years to the academic staff and leaders at the 11 universities in Norway. And we want their views and experiences of changes. And then we have compared the 2 years to see if there are any changes at all. And we just sent off the first survey, the 2025 survey, last week. The next slide is about some of the questions to that survey, so we get more about this. We are also doing case studies in the years to come, in which we are going to interview actors and stakeholders at the universities and look at the documents at department level, faculty and university boards and committees to understand the local processes. And also look at the application and review and job postings to see if there are any observable changes in the criteria and the procedures and the emphases in the assessments. And then there is the second work package, in which we are looking at the research grant proposals at the Research Council of Norway and Foundation DAM. We are also here doing document analysis to look at any changes relevant to CoARA NORCAM, the evaluation criteria, the evaluation forms, CV templates, guidelines, instructions, and applications and applicant review and data analysis. And also here we have survey, both to the applicants and the reviewers. That's for the years to come. And we also do some interviews with the staff at these agencies. So back to the survey we just sent out last week. Here we are asking some examples here, that we are asking the temporary and the staff and the fixed term staff about what they think will be emphasized if you apply for a permanent academic positions at your university today. And we asked permanent staff what you think will be emphasized if you apply for a promotions at your university today. And then they are asked to score 20 different qualifications and concerns on a scale from 1 to 5, to what extent they think it will be emphasized. And then we also ask all of these staff who have been involved in review processes of permanent staff and promotion proposals, what was emphasized in these specific assessments. And here they also ask to emphasize these, to score these emphases on a scale from 1 to 5. And there are some questions that go to all about what should be emphasized and to what extent this should be changed. So here you have the same qualification and concerns. Whether it should be less weight than today, have the same weight as today, or have more weight than today. So we are very eager to see the results of this, and I'm really happy to come back to you to tell about more of that on a later stage when we have the results. Yeah, then my last slide here is about what we are doing and sort of trying to sum up here. We, of course, expect this to have some relevance and outputs for Norway because we are doing longitudinal research on an ongoing reform, and it's not very often we are able to do that. And we are comparing in Norway across institutions to try to understand the drivers and the barriers for reforms and the changes and impact on hiring, promotion, and project funding, and the differences between academic fields and the difference between different types of universities. And we think that, this will have some general insights here because we'll get a very broad data set, we hope, to be able to say something on different kinds of assessments, what's going on in different fields and different types of institutions. And we expect this to be highly relevant also beyond Norway. Well, we are going on to 2028, so we don't not have the results yet, but we are going to publish underway in these years also one policy brief per year. We're going to present at relevant conferences and meetings, and we'll have an end conference in 2028.